Good morning and welcome to How You Livin with Dr. Kiva.
And I'm Robin B. Good morning. How you guys doing this morning? How are you, Dr. Kiva?
I am good.
Good.
So every morning when we start, I have to ask Robin about her coffee intake.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. You can't tell I had coffee this morning, can you?
What?
Normally I'm a lot more frenetic, but I thought I was calm this morning. I'm trying. I made a conscious effort to be calm this morning.
Okay. Did you meditate today?
I meditate on my way in. How about that? I meditate while I'm driving, and that keeps me calm because the guy in front of me did about 40 miles an hour all the way here. So that wasn't fun. So I had to meditate.
Because you were getting hot?
I was getting a little bit. I wanted to be early. I wanted to be early for a change. You know how I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That was the universe telling you to slow down and breathe.
It worked. It definitely worked because I had no choice. I did not cuss one time. You'd be
so
proud of me.
You.
I knew you would be. That's a new, I'm telling you, you're rubbing off on me very well. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that is a beautiful thing.
Appreciate it.
So what we got going on this morning?
Well, we have a special morning. We are going to introduce our new friend, Miss Shauna Jackson. How are you this morning?
Amazing, ladies. It's
Welcome.
so good to be here. I love y'all's energy.
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank
love
you.
It.
We appreciate that. So why don't you give the audience an idea of what your wonderful specialty is?
Absolutely. Writing, photojournalism, and writing for one of the most interesting journals here in Houston, based in Houston, called Black World Journal.
That's cool.
So it's that world is the key of why we exist in a global city such as Houston.
It's called Black World Journal?
World.
Yes.
So it covers everything that's related to
I.E. culture, society, entertainment, health and medicine. I know that's probably going to be one of the topics that we roll in today, you know, where, I'll let you ladies do the segue, but yeah.
So what is your specialty in writing?
Connecting people to outcomes that benefit them after they've read our story. There should always be a takeaway. There should always be a takeaway.
That's great.
Something positive.
So have you been writing on the COVID situation?
I have.
Okay. I understand you have some facts for us, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We did, I'll just introduce one of the stories that we were chatting about a little earlier today. Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium that launched in Philadelphia at the beginning of the year. Philadelphia is one of those historical, first cities in America, and it is always trending in some sort of way, creating new things. There was a physician by the name of Dr. I'll say Allah.
Okay.
I'll just say Dr. Allah.
Okay.
And she had noticed that there was no testing in the Black communities. Unfortunately, people were concerned about, dying from COVID. And the challenge was the fact that there was no transportation, nor was there any health insurance, nor were there any physicians accepting them if they didn't have insurance. So she took PPE to the street, recruited 18 physicians, and launched the BDDC. And we did this story, again, it's at Black World Journal, and it's a news segment. So when you click on news, you'll be able to read the story. The unique thing about the story, ladies, is that Dr. Alice Stanford, thank you. I just want to be sure we get the names right.
That's
for
right.
credit. She got the notoriety from individuals throughout the city, and we're just waiting for the mayors and the governors of Pennsylvania to recognize that in the city of Philadelphia as well.
So when you say Philadelphia, is that a concern that's in other states, like especially Houston? Is that what's going on here?
It actually began in Philadelphia, but then we saw how things began to change everywhere except for COVID-19 in prisons. And Texas, since we're here, it was one of those cities that lost a lot of not inmates, but a lot of the guards
Oh my
really?
goodness.
that were,
I guess because they leave and they come back.
yeah,
Right.
so they were the carriers
So
of
their
COVID.
families must have been impacted big time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there was a petition for the release, globally, but focusing on Texas. Washington State was one of those cities where inmates actually left the prison brick and mortar facility, went outdoor and protested,
Right.
and the media captured all that, and it was a very peaceful protest because they were really not wanting pass away from
That's
COVID.
right. That's
Um,
been a major concern with the prisons across the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know there was a riot in one of them, a really major riot. And it
Yeah.
went, they got a hold of a phone and they were on Facebook Live. Did you see that?
I,
It was
I
so
didn't.
disturbing.
I didn't. I heard about it.
Yeah, it was very disturbing.
Cities like Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. These are major cities where men were protesting.
What
and their
about the female
families.
prisons? Same situation?
There was not a lot of interaction and a lot of media covered, but women were going through the same thing. But
Okay.
men were the ones that were more outspoken because wives talk to the
Yes.
media. You know,
So you were saying in Philadelphia, she
Mm-hmm.
put together a program to go into communities and provide PPEs and testing.
yes, she recruited. She had the PPE, so all she did was she recruited and she teamed up with 18 other physicians.
Okay.
And they hit the streets and they did COVID testing from cars, knocked on doors. It was word of mouth. It
And
was a
so-
lot of word of mouth and on the on your foot because the homes are situated real close
Right,
together.
they sure are.
So what were the results? Did they find a lot of people were positive?
No.
Okay.
She got the testing, and when she got the testing done, she was able to. I think in the story we wrote, testing was able to allow people to not die on respirators. And we spun that on our YouTube video for this particular story because we're going to test you before you get to a respirator
Right.
and pass away on a respirator. Van Jones, and I know we're limited in time, Van Jones went globally and talked, and he leveraged his media position. And because of his notoriety, he was able to get a lot of people to hear what he was saying. And it is what we ought to do as African Americans, as blacks in these communities, and how we're able to stay alive and get ahead of the curve rather than it knock on our door. But the U.S. Surgeon General also made that stance at the White House, representing all of America at the White House, and he himself was someone that could die from COVID-19,
Absolutely.
as many black men and women could. High blood pressure, all these underlying conditions. Underlying conditions is what the challenge was. Well, I know someone with underlying conditions.
Yeah, because I know now they're saying obesity is a big one.
Yes.
And especially even beyond saying, all the autoimmunes and high blood pressure, obesity is a biggie.
It is. It is.
So, but at one point, I haven't been keeping up with it because we were giving free tests. There were free tests for people.
Right.
So what was the pushback from that community to say, why wouldn't they go take a free test?
Exactly. It was not available in that city at that time.
Okay.
Congress, there was a representative in California who interviewed, I forget what, he was director, I think it might have been the director of CDC. Y'all forgive me if I'm incorrect on this. But this actually went to Congress, and the cost of a COVID test averaged $1,300 or $1,400, and that's out of pocket. So it had to be leveraged that citizens had money in their own pocket, paid for food, health, insurance, their own rent, their families, and the COVID as a global pandemic had to be at no cost. So that meant that testing had to be free. While this was being negotiated,
right,
COVID testing was being done on the streets in Philadelphia. There were so many things dually happening at the same time. And there were so many stories. Well, there's COVID in prisons. There's COVID in black communities.
Nursing home.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's COVID at the White House now.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the Affordable Health Care Act as far as some of those communities being already on? Because I would assume
Yeah.
that if you're able to be in that program,
Mhm.
the insurance would have covered the testing.
Yeah, I think it's a double jeopardy. It's kind of like a catch-22. If you understand what you have in terms of what your insurance policy allows for, women with breast cancer, it may not allow you. People that, do you have it? If you don't have it, you may not be covered. If you have it, you
Yeah.
may be covered.
Right.
So it really is dependent on your insurance. Do you have Blue Cross, or do you have
I was hoping that they
American?
would. I was hoping that they would cover it with
Well,
the
Yeah.
I know
insurance. I
there
didn't
was
know.
when they brought the CDC. I think his name was Redfield. He did testify, and I don't know if it was AOC or the other one of the other Congress people.
Yeah.
Had him commit right then and there that he would allow for free testing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where it went from there,
Yeah.
but he did commit, and that was
Are they doing
earlier
free?
this
They're
year.
not doing free testing anymore now.
No,
right?
I don't.
Especially.
I don't believe so.
The city, most cities are.
Okay.
Harris County is, and the counties and state municipalities and bureaucracies have to adhere to what was passed down, exactly like you said, Senate and Congress. That hearing
Yes.
is, is really relevant.
Okay.
But if you're going to a private, provider, it will be out of pocket.
So what is the big thing that you want our community to know?
Yeah. COVID is one of those things that it's real. It's
It
real.
is real.
We have a lot of Black physicians that are engaging and making sure that we ourselves stay safe. If we're going into, we love to eat, we love to socialize, we love being together, we love connecting. And I can't throw the word party out there because a lot of people do, but most people
we like
love
that
to
barbecue. We like to have that family barbecue. That's what we do, right? And if you're not
you get a high
invited,
five
you know
on that.
why, right? We like to invite people to the barbecue.
Because you put raisins in the
There you go.
salad.
Yeah, Karen. No, thank you.
Oh yeah, how about that? So on a
Okay,
conscious
now.
level, it's really important for us to stay conscious
Yes.
and stay aware that we're still in a pandemic. It may not be hard, but it's still a pandemic, whether it's hard or soft, the beginning or the end of it. You may catch it. The thing is that will you be able to recover from it, provided you have underlying conditions, or you live with someone that has underlying conditions. Just real quick, and I'll say this: there are a lot of women with infants that are providers for their mothers and their grandmothers and the elderly, and they have given up their freedom as they have known it before to ensure that they don't pass COVID in and out of the household that they live in. And I think that is so honorable for all of you people, men and women, for all of you men and women that have done that and sacrificed for someone else. I commend you truly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can, what's your social media? How can, if we're interested in definitely reading your articles for sure?
Blackworldjournal.news. Blackworldjournal.news, we're about to upload additional stories, and it's based on the community global. But there's also going to be the month of November where we talk about diversity in Houston. And we're shooting now, like literally shooting, getting video, and we're taking shoots, all that.
Okay.
And we're getting the groundwork done.
Oh, we got to have you come back and talk to us about that program for
There's
sure.
a wealth of knowledge we can get from you.
Yeah.
So how can people reach you? Do you?
Yeah, blackworldjournal@gmail.com. Email us, Journalist Jackson.
Can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, Black World Journal at
Facebook
and Instagram. We're not on Twitter, but we selected the two social media outlets.
Okay.
Facebook, and we're also on LinkedIn, Black World Journal, on LinkedIn as well.
So we're definitely going to have you come back and talk to us.
It would be an honor.
Greater detail for sure.
It would be an honor.
Shauna Jackson, thank you
ma'am.
so much.
You're
for
so
joining
welcome.
us
You're
this
so
morning.
welcome.
Hang on, guys. We'll be right back with Dr. O'Dilly. He's going to actually piggyback on a lot that Shauna just shared with us. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We've been out of control since we got hit back in March 2020. Mortality rates keep climbing. Infection rates go up and down and then back up again. How long will this go on? No clear answer. Will a vaccine even be effective as this virus continues to spread and to mutate? No clear answers there either. I'm a trained nutritionist, herbologist, personal trainer, behavior modification, and stress sciences expert. I'm also a COVID-19 and pneumonia survivor. I've watched the continuous wall-to-wall news coverage, and while yes, wearing a mask and social distancing are crucial now, you're not being given important tools that you need in order to fortify your first line of defense, your best line of defense, which is your own immune system. What's going on here? There are simple, affordable, and natural ways to help build your immune system to fight any virus or bacteria now, and it starts inside of you. That's why I need to invite you to join me for Beyond the Mask, an intimate talk about vital ways to immediately begin boosting your immune system. Are you worried about the potentials of a second wave? Are you concerned now that your immune system may not be strong enough? Let me show you now the changes that will allow you to optimize it. Let me show you how to maximize your exercise benefits in a 12-minute routine that you'll do every other day to easily increase your metabolism, strengthen your respiratory and immune systems, and give you better circulation throughout your body. Listen, sugar feeds both bacteria and viruses. Let me show you ways to kick that sugar addiction now and to get some weight off. Let me share with you keys to better nutrition that boosts your immune system. We are all under too much stress, and stress weakens your immune system. It single-handedly leaves you vulnerable to all kinds of health issues and infections because stress reduces your immune cell numbers and their ability to function. Let me show you tools that you'll easily integrate into your daily life now to naturally reduce your stress cortisol response. I also want you to know about some nutritional supplements that have been shown to naturally improve your immune system and your overall health. Since January, there have been over 700 studies released worldwide on the relationship between COVID-19 and vitamin D3 deficiency. You need to know why. You want to improve your own immune defenses now? Want to take back your control? Sign up today for Beyond the Mask and join me as I give you information and tools to easily get you back on track towards a healthier overall immune system now.
And we are back with our favorite doctor, our in-house expert, Dr. O'Dilly. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. Good morning, ladies.
Thank you so much for coming back. We need you. Every time there's a new episode, we got to bring you back, and so you can kind of lay out the truth. But,
So for people who aren't familiar with you, because you come back and you're our medical expert, tell us something about you.
Sure. Well, I'm a native Houstonian, born and raised. I'm currently the medical director at Apex Urgent Care Clinic and also author of a few books, one on coronavirus, the beginning of the pandemic. Everything's available on Amazon. I have a book specifically on vaping that discusses the risks of teen vaping. And I just released another book that combines the two and has an update with how the COVID pandemic has affected the risk of vaping for everyone. And then I have a book with a co-author that's about financial independence, how to free yourself from economic servitude. So if you're interested in any of these topics, they're all on Amazon.com.
Because along with being a doctor, you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
Basically. You own your clinic, don't you?
Yes, I have a business partner. We have 2 clinics, one in Katy, one in Richmond. And it's definitely should be a financial goal of everyone to be financially independent, have your own business, and secure your own stream of income so that you're not dependent. In times like this, it's definitely a time you want to get the hustle game up and figure out how to generate some more revenue.
That's great.
So is there anything new on the COVID front?
Oh, there's always new COVID news. Every day is a new story.
Well, I have a question for you. Okay, over the weekend, several times, your president said that he's immune now that he has contracted COVID and survived it. That now he's immune. Is that true?
Wait, he didn't even say I've built up immunity.
No, he
said
I'm immune.
I am immune.
I am immune. I'm sorry, I'll be good. So could that be true? Is there a situation where you could become immune?
So time hasn't passed enough for us to have a valid, scientifically proven answer to that. He received an infusion of immune factors, immunoglobulins, created in a lab that supersedes anything the human body could produce.
Okay.
So there's a scientific possibility that he does have immunity because he received an immune globulin infusion. So he may accidentally be correct on that, not because it's been proven or not, but time will tell us. The story about immunity after infection is the same as it's been for the past 6 months. We are not seeing large numbers of people getting reinfected with COVID after their first infection. So we don't think that within the short term people will get COVID a second time around. But the truth of the matter is that he's still infected. He's still in the prime of his illness. No one's tested him and proclaimed that he's tested negative. So until then, he's assumed positive and assumed infected.
Now let me ask you though, with the cocktail that he received, I mean, I do understand he's the president. He gets things that maybe we don't get, of course. Is that cocktail looked at a possibility of being brought to the general public, or is it something that they're doing studies? What's good to deal with the whole cocktail that he received for us to get? It
apparently worked, yeah.
Yeah.
So the company that is behind Regeneron has recently applied for emergency use authorization. So they're in the process of applying so that the FDA can allow people to receive the infusion if it's an emergency or if they have a serious situation. Several people got COVID at the same time the president did during that White House mini epidemic, the super spreader event where dozens of people were found to have gotten COVID. I'm not aware that any of the other people who've been infected received any special treatment. Even former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, who got infected at the same time, we haven't heard from him since he checked into the hospital a week ago.
I just heard yesterday because I figured, well, that can't be good. But supposedly, he said he was released yesterday.
Very good.
Which is surprising because he's super
God
obese.
willing.
Right?
Yeah, because I am concerned that if it is out there that they provide that one. If you don't have insurance, how does that sit, especially for the population that really dies from it if they don't have insurance? And then if they try to take away the Affordable Care Act and you really don't have, be able to get that cocktail, and then for those people that can get it, are they going to all of a sudden get laxed on how they go out into the community and then become spreading even more, just based on what he's saying?
There's a lot to dig in on that. The Affordable Care Act was amended so that all coronavirus testing and inpatient care is an essential service or a covered service. So anyone who has insurance. So what a lot of people still don't remember or want to acknowledge is that the Affordable Care Act doesn't just change how people get insurance on the exchanges. It affects everyone's insurance, whether you have government insurance or you have private employer insurance. It mandates that certain things must be covered for every insurance. So if the ACA goes away, which is what the administration has been trying to do for the past 3 years, people are going to lose a lot of the attributes that make their insurance great. They're not going to be able to have coverage for pre-existing conditions standalone unless something else changes. They won't be able to have their children stay on their insurance until age 26 if they're students. They won't have vaccines covered automatically. Right now, vaccines are preventative care, and all prevention care is covered at 100%. So right now, everyone who has insurance, all their vaccines are covered. There should be no copay, no out of pocket, and that's a virtue of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. So if that's lost, people are going to be paying for everything, and the insurance can deny you, deny you for high blood pressure, deny you for diabetes, deny you even for pregnancy. One of the insurance plans I had claimed pregnancy was a pre-existing condition.
Wow.
So when my wife was
That's
pregnant, we
wild.
had to change insurance plans. This is before the
Wow.
ACA, and it's just ridiculous.
So with
I never
everyone
heard
who,
that before.
I have heard that
The
before.
pregnancy being a
Yeah, well, with this particular Senate, but with someone who has survived and recovered from COVID, but apparently still that has caused them to have underlying conditions or affected their
I
future
know.
health.
I was like, you'll get COVID and you try to get on the insurance. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you have COVID. That's why you have chest stuff. So because of your chest stuff, you
Right.
can't get on this insurance because that's a
Even if you
Wow, that's-
recovered, right? Because that's what they
Because-
say is that you have long-term effects from that. So
There
that,
are some people with
so it's sort
long-term
of a
effects.
catch-22.
wow,
Right,
that's wild.
If ACA goes away, 20 million people are going to be in deep trouble.
Well, it's going to be more than that. I mean, we have to look at the bigger picture here. Coronavirus is going to be like the flu. It's going to be something that more than half of the country is going to suffer from at some point in time. So going forward, the numbers are going to continue to rise. We have vaccines that are in production, and they say they're getting doses ready, but they're getting them ready before they've proven that they're effective.
Exactly. That's pretty
So they're
scary.
getting them ready to distribute, and they haven't yet proven that they're effective. And then when you dig into the fine details, the threshold for effectiveness is roughly a 50 or 55% immune response. So 55% of the group that receive it need to have an immune response. So it's a low bar that they're setting, which is fine for now until we have time to review what really happens. But it's going to be a while before those doses are in people's arms, and even longer before a significant amount of the population is vaccinated to where it makes a clinical difference. So you're looking at another 1.5 to 2 years of coronavirus outbreaks
That means
throughout the country.
That means another 1.5 to 2 years of mask.
Yep.
So it'd be good to go into the mask business, people. That's a good,
I don't want to
that's a
buy
good
another
business to
mask.
go
Oh my
into.
goodness.
It's going to be
Well,
around for a while.
How's
You know-
Texas looking? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
So-
How are we doing as far as the infections right now? Are we still
increasing?
growing? Yeah.
So Texas had its first wave with the rest of the country, and then spring break came and we closed schools, and the situation improved greatly. And then we remember over the summer when the hospitals were full again. After the second shutdown, bars closed, and Houston, Harris County went on code red again.
Mhm.
The situation has calmed significantly.
Okay.
So there hasn't been any talk of hospitals being overcrowded.
That's good.
The
That's
daily infection has gone down. In real time, in recent tests, we are seeing a slight uptick in the percentage of positive cases at a few of the places where I work. Whether or not that continues and you start to hear it on the news, we're not sure yet. But the hospitals are still doing well. They're not overcrowded. So I think that the school reopenings, we know HISD hasn't yet done it, but the smaller counties around that have been doing it have not really contributed to a huge spike in infections.
Yeah, because I tell you, my big thing that's just, you would hope that medical doctors would be honest and forthcoming, and you would hope that, of doing no harm is the first thing that they think of.
Mhm.
And so with the White House doctor saying, well, Trump can go out and he's not going to, what did they say? He's not
He's
going
not
to,
going to infect anyone.
yeah, he's not going to infect anyone, but they still haven't said that he tests negative
They
for
refuse to-
COVID.
Yeah, they refuse to
Is
answer that
is
question.
that true? That if they haven't tested,
Then how can
or
we know?
if he is still negative, he can still infect people, right?
Didn't you say he's probably still infected
Probably.
and still
No,
probably still contagious?
probably. if you've all seen the nasal swab, it goes into the nasopharynx, and If that test is positive, meaning that there's coronavirus particles in your nasal passageway, then it would suggest that if you sneezed, the same coronavirus particles in your nasal passageway would be expelled.
Right.
So if you test positive, that suggests that the virus is still coming out. Now, it may not come out when you speak or you breathe, but definitely if you cough or sneeze,
right,
you should expect that the virus particles would spread. So we are looking for him to have an independent, body test and say that he tests negative.
Do you have any feelings about the event he held this weekend with African Americans?
But
He
it was
stayed on the-
outside, right?
It was outside, but they were all very close. Many of them had on masks, but not all of them. And he stayed on the terrace. He stayed on the balcony, but they were, all converging together. I don't know if did you know about that?
I watched a little bit from clips
Were
from
you
news
horrified?
coverage. Oh, I mean, it's
I
not
was.
it's not a horrific thing, but it's definitely not called for.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if infections came from there. I mean, look at the entire White House. Our immediate families, for the most part, have stayed healthy. The White House is infected like I don't know what. It's like typhoid going on over there.
But I do wonder, once he gets off the medication, if he's still on, could that make him get sicker? Like, okay, the medication is basically
keeping him even keeled.
keeping him even keeled, and he
Right.
thinks he feels awesome.
So he feels terrific.
So if he gets off, would that affect his
Well,
health?
Well, we are, we know that patients each experience a different time course in their infection. So we look for the first 10 to 14 days as a time where they're in the acute phase of the infection.
Okay.
So it is possible that you may improve during that time and then relapse.
Okay.
It's a realistic possibility. It's something we'll just have to watch for. But it's amazing that the NBA can keep LeBron James COVID free, but the White
But
House,
the White House
with
can't keep
he's
all
in a
the
bubble.
money and all the testing that they have at their
Yeah,
disposal,
he's in.
can't keep it out of the White House.
They're in a bubble, but not the type of bubble they need to be in, and that's the problem. How interesting! And then the vice president, who's in charge, and his boss is the one who gets it. I mean, the irony is so ridiculous. I don't know where to begin. That's
So,
like,
so with the exposure, say you are. I mean, we've talked about it, but just remind me, if I'm around someone who has COVID, how soon could the symptoms? It has still 14 days that it's a possibility that I would get it, or would the symptoms show up a little bit faster?
We're still working on the 14-day theory. Back when the cruise ships had their first outbreaks of COVID and people came back and they were sequestered on Army bases, etc., they were all tested on the cruise ship, and the ones that tested negative were still kept in the barracks in isolation for 14 days, and there were people who tested positive on that 14th day. So that lets you know that barring any infection while they were there, but they were all supposed to be kept in isolation, that the virus can take its time to manifest. There's not a 2 or 3 day window and then you feel good. So you have to keep in mind that a negative test means that you don't have a high level of the virus at that point in time. It does not mean that you won't have an increase in that virus and have symptoms a little bit down the line. So the people like the vice president and all the others, take for instance the White House press secretary. She tested negative and proclaimed health and freedom and had a press conference the next day, and then the following day, with no mask by the way, and the following day tested positive, and then had her mask back on and her head down, and had to admit that a negative test doesn't mean you're free and clear. You still have to isolate and quarantine
And
for
I
those
guess she
10 to
could've-
14 days.
And at that point, when she could have been spreading also.
She probably was. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
I hear
sure.
that you can't find masks in the White House up until a week ago.
You might get fired if you do wear one.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and hopefully, when we come back, you can explain the difference between your allergies, a seasonal cold, flu, and COVID. Because now, when I cough, I get paranoid.
Same here.
So
Every time I go out, I come back and
Like-
say, "I have a sore throat." And we also want you to tell us the best practices for staying safe. Okay.
So we'll
Will
take
do.
a quick little break, and we'll get some more answers.
Be right back.
Be right back.
work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And welcome back to How You Livin'. So now, please explain to us the difference between cold, allergy, COVID, flu, because I'm telling you, when people cough, you get paranoid. If I'm coughing, I get paranoid. So what signs and symptoms should we look for each of those?
Well, unfortunately, the answer is going to be a bit disappointing. Because coronavirus has such a wide range of symptoms, you really can't pick and choose what symptoms you want to put into which category. If a person coughs, they could just have walked past a dust cloud or a pet allergy. It could be their sinuses, or it could be the beginning of a virus infection like the flu or coronavirus. So broad symptoms like fever, like cough, like sneezing, they don't point us in one direction. They point us in several directions. So you really have to keep a diary of your symptoms, keep track of how you're feeling, and keep the mask on, because there's really not a way to know, what's coming down the pipe.
So as an ER doctor, are you guys overly concerned that we're coming into the regular flu season right now?
We are at the beginning of the flu season, but this is something that I've written about and that we've talked about for many months, that if we don't get a handle on this coronavirus pandemic before flu season, then we're going to have a real difficult time, because we won't be able to tell the difference between the two, and our testing is not accurate in the first 48 hours. And what that means is a person can have fevers, chills, body aches, runny nose, all the classic flu symptoms, and they can test negative for the flu if they come in on that first day.
Right.
So much so that the CDC website for years has said we should not test adults for the flu in the first 48 hours. We should make our decisions clinically. That's because the test accuracy of a rapid flu test in the first 36 hours is not great. You can have a false negative rate 20 to 30%. That means you will have the flu, you will be sick from the flu, you will test negative.
So the key is to stay in the house.
Really, it's the mask. You can stay in the house and somebody can deliver the flu to you. Right. Just like the people in the nursing homes got COVID delivered to them. Right. They stayed in the house and they still got sick. So you really have to take it upon yourself to protect yourself. The COVID test accuracy is we're gonna find similar false negative rate in the early phase. These rapid tests that exist, they were not designed for asymptomatic people, and we know that they're also not great accuracy in those first 24 hours either. Add to that the fact that we know that coronavirus can spread in people who don't have any symptoms. Then you combine that with flu season, and you know that it's going to be trouble.
It's a cocktail. So when you wear the mask, what's the percentage of you not getting corona if someone is around you that has a mask on? The reason I ask, I went to an educational thing for my license, and there were so many people around chiropractors not wearing their mask, and I kept mine on the whole time. So I'm just wondering, since I kept mine on, I know I'm protected, but what percentage really?
You know, it's hard to put numbers to it because your risk of getting infection isn't reduced just by wearing the mask. Because it's a multifactorial exposure type situation, if you were to do a study, it would be hard to identify that it's the mask that did it versus the hand washing versus the social distancing versus the face shield. So it's really hard to isolate just one factor and say that this is the one factor that's better for you. It's better to do everything. It's better to keep distance and wear the mask, face shield if you have one, and do the hand hygiene.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of people being consistent with it. And that's the challenge. So for folks who really aren't sure on what's the best defense to keep yourself healthy, so if you do contract it, at least you can survive it. Because that's always been my thing, is keep your immune system strong.
Right.
Yep, and it's a combination of things. It's about general wellness. So you want to exercise, you want to eat balanced meals, you want to stay well hydrated, and you want to have a good balanced diet with fruits, vegetables, and then supplemental vitamins and minerals as needed. So you want to do all of these things as a baseline. That's what you should be doing every day to keep you well in general. And then on top of that, an extra 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, an extra tablet or two of zinc, an extra tablet of vitamin D, and good sunlight exposure. These things can help increase your body's defenses and help reduce your risk of getting infection.
Very good. You were the doctor for the White House. What would you do other than quit? I mean,
you read my mind. Resign was on my mind.
Because basically, the White House is infected. Like, what's the situation? Is the air infected over there now, or?
You know, as a physician for 12 years, we get used to having patients who don't follow our advice. So I imagine the White House isn't much different.
Okay.
Adults, you know, this is America. You're free to do as you please. So you're always going to have patients who don't follow your advice. You know, you want to do your best to make a good case, explain why it's important to do A, B, and C. In that situation, you really would need to lobby for everyone wearing a mask all the time. It's what they should have been doing from day one to set a good example for the country. Instead, we got a bad example, and, you know, people follow examples.
I didn't realize it until this time.
Oh my goodness.
That it really trickles down for real.
So help me understand this. Is there really such a thing as COVID madness? Does it cause you to have mental episodes?
Before.
Well, what I've been hearing is that COVID can cause you not to really hallucinate, but it does cause you to have, maybe it's the medical. I think what it was, they were talking about with some of the medications, can cause you to have, I don't know, it's hallucination.
I think that's what they said.
Was it just the steroids?
Trump
Just the steroids that he was on?
That it gives you this idea of grandeur.
With the prednisone, they said that prednisone does that.
So steroids, steroids can have those effects in isolated situations. It's not a common side effect, but people will tell you that they have some emotional changes when they're on steroids long term, especially if it's IV or high dose.
Okay.
There are some, you know, rare side effects of the remdesivir, and in general, outside of all these things, anyone who's in the ICU or works in the ICU knows about ICU psychosis. So anytime you're in the hospital and you are no longer used to your daily routine, you don't have a stable night because there's chimes and dings and beeps throughout the night. You can get disorientation from being in the hospital, you know, longer than a day. So there are a lot of reasons why somebody might have some mental changes if they're hospitalized or sick, but I haven't read anything in particular that says it's tied to one thing.
Okay.
So after you have COVID, and so you could have lung problems, could that also affect your heart? I mean, because, you know, lung and heart and all that combination What are some of the effects that you've seen that people that the long term
Like
effects of
the
COVID?
lasting.
So what we all have to keep in mind is that we're still learning about this virus and how it affects the human body. So we know that in some patients, they're going to have more severe burden of inflammation. And that inflammation doesn't disappear when your test is negative. That inflammation leaves residual damage in terms of the lungs. It shortness of breath that may last for longer than you would like or longer than you would expect. And even before COVID, a person that had pneumonia may not have a normal chest x-ray for a full month after their illness. So they finish their antibiotics, they feel better, but the evidence of the infection is still present on chest x-rays. So we know that it takes time to heal inflammation, and that inflammation may affect the heart as well. So we know that influenza would cause cardiomyopathy, cardiac inflammation, and lead to death in some patients. So we expect that coronavirus would have similar effects as almost any whole body infection could.
So wow, so someone could have it and then even get over it months later, still possibly die from other
The effects of it.
long-term effects, possibly.
If you had lung scarring or damage to a vital organ, that would reduce that organ's function for many months, possibly years. So we may see, obviously the time hasn't passed yet,
Right.
but we may see patients who've recovered have health issues, come to life in 2021. We still have patients who were infected in the spring that have not recovered their sense of smell.
Whoa.
And you'll talk to people, or patients will give interviews that they're still having shortness of breath months later, that they can't exercise like they used to.
Have you gotten a lot of children with COVID, child patients that have been infected with COVID?
So every time there's a big citywide outbreak, you'll have whole families get tested. And now that school is in, we're seeing classrooms get tested.
Okay.
So we are seeing children test positive. It's real. Now, thankfully, at least in the settings where I am, urgent care and the emergency rooms where I work, the children have not been hospitalized. So the children that I see, now there are some that do need hospitalization and need respiratory support. But personally, the ones that I've seen, majority have no symptoms at all. And then a small percentage have some respiratory infection symptoms.
And I'm sure if you know anybody who's vaping or smoking,
that's gotta be.
so what is the outcome of people, because guess what,
Excellent.
why do people vape anyway? Because they're trying not to smoke, or is it, I don't even know. What is it? What is
So
the
it
thing with
started
vaping?
out as it was
Very
introduced
trendy.
about 10 years ago. It was introduced as a device that could help you stop smoking cigarettes. But the marketing has been toward the youth, with advertising with celebrities and musicians, and fruity and sweet flavors, and also advertising on Spotify and Instagram, places where
And
they
on
know kids are
TV
going to be
once
using
upon a
it.
time. Right.
So they've directly marketed to kids, and that's made it appealing to them. So the children are using it recreationally, which has no medical benefit.
But if you get COVID on top of that, even though is vaping as bad as smoking, or is it about the same?
Totally different set of side effects. So you're going to have respiratory inflammation, possibly. The chemicals that are inside the e-liquid, the vape liquid that's being heated up with the atomizer, it's turning particle matter into a vapor, a mist, or a gas, and then that's being inhaled. So those solid chemical particles are depositing in the lungs and causing inflammation. The metal in which the device is housed, also the nanoparticles can be aerosolized, and they're inhaling that as well. So definitely there's lots of ways you're damaging your lungs when you vape.
So when you smoke and you vape and you blow out that smoke and vape, if you have coronavirus, you're basically that's another way to spread
Oh my
also, right?
goodness.
It is possible.
Wow.
We know that the droplets, the respiratory droplets of the virus, can be micro-sized as well, and they can hang in the air for a short while, minutes, not hours, as far as the research has told us. So yeah, when people are close to each other, sharing the same vaping device, and usually, if they're in an indoor environment, then that's potentially causing the virus to circulate. But also, again, the close contact and sharing devices would be a problem for people trying to not spread the virus.
I didn't know if smoke traveled more than I didn't know
Well,
if it's a longer travel for smoking.
when I see people blowing out vapes, it goes on forever and ever and ever. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I was at a red light and I saw the truck in front of me. I'm like, what is he? I thought he was smoking weed or something, but the smoke just kept coming out. So vape smoke is a lot more voluminous than cigarette smoke, isn't it?
It can be. It really depends on what the additives are.
Okay.
We know that the kids choose the ones in the classrooms that the vapor dissipates quickly so they can hide it.
I've seen that too.
But there are
on
some.
a plane do it before.
Yeah, they
They were
probably
in the
do it
line
on
in
a
the
plane
plane,
a lot.
and so I was just like, well, if it's in the air, like you said, it
Right.
kind of stays, and you can smell it, and you probably even walk through it.
Right.
Are we walking through Corona?
Right.
You know-
That's the bottom line, really. Are we walking through Corona?
We don't have studies to tell us that, but I would lean toward common sense. And
This
if
is
you
a
can
good
see,
start.
if you can see someone's breath in real form, you don't want to walk through it.
Right. That's a very good point. And people probably are vaping on the planes because you can't smell it, right?
But you
Well,
can
you
see
can
all
smell
this
it,
Can you
but you
smell it?
can't
I didn't know
identify
it was
who
the
did
smell.
it.
Wow.
So unless you see them in the act, and this is why the kids are getting away with it inside class, they're doing it through hidden devices that look like
And they do
iPods,
this.
that look like inhalers, that look like USB drives, that
Yeah.
look like pens, and then they put the device away so quickly that by the time your back is turned and back around, you can't tell who did it. You can only smell that it was there.
Is there any legislature against vaping right now? Is there something out there where they're attacking the vaping companies?
Wait. Did you see when 45 was talking about vaping, and he had his wife there, and it's
No.
like, yeah, her son. She was
That's-
concerned about her son.
Isn't that interesting? He called him her son. What about the time he shook her hand?
I'm sorry.
She came on
Okay,
I
back-
know. Here
back-
we
back-
go.
back- back-
Okay. It's hard not to, though. Okay.
So as you know, there's been a lot going on in Congress recently. So I'm not aware of anything new
Okay.
that they're doing toward this. Back in January, February, there were some executive actions taken, but the industry itself has lobbied against that. So just last month, there was a deadline for the companies to file to have their flavors and their devices approved. So currently, they're not supposed to be selling devices, but they do have a few waivers that allow them to do so. So even though there's been a lot of talk, there has not been a lot of action. Kids are still getting access to these things in a legal way.
Ideally, it's supposed to be what, 18 and up.
So Tobacco 21 was a new law that was passed that made any tobacco devices, you have to be 21 to get it unless you were 18 prior to the date that it was enacted.
Okay.
So going forward, it's going to be 21 and up, which is going to really help the next generation stay nicotine free and stay away from that addiction.
And that's for cigarettes also? Because cigarettes were
Yep.
18 and up, right?
They were 18 and up
Okay,
until
okay.
Tobacco 21 was
Okay,
passed.
that's one.
So now in most states, they should be enforcing the 21 and up.
So how do you, as a father of 4, how do you educate your children to stay away? Or you
Well,
just,
they're
you
little
threaten
people,
them?
aren't they?
Threaten them with bodily
So,
harm.
I've got a teenager. I have a 14-year-old.
Show 'em
And
a
when I
love.
wrote my first book, Vaping 101, it was partially because I was doing a town hall with high school kids about the dangers of vaping. So I asked my son about what are his thoughts, and he told me that he thought vaping was safe, it's water vapor, and it's healthy, no danger. And that was part of the reason why I decided to put the book out there, so that parents can have a resource to help educate their teens about their true risk. Marketing, TV, YouTube, Instagram, they all want you to think that vaping is safe and fun to do. And as parents, we have to come together and put out the truth, the different perspective, so that they can get, they can get the real.
So does a vape lung look the same as a smoker's lung?
So vaping is so new, we don't have evidence of long-term damage. We have evidence of the short-term damage. So we know that lung damage can happen rapidly within weeks or months of vaping, that kids and adults can be put on ventilators from poor lung function. And those lung CAT scans do show deposits of fibrinous material and other inflammatory changes that are different from a chronic smoker's lung, but the changes are there. They can be seen on CAT scan.
Wow.
That's horrible.
It's always
Sounds-
something new to learn. It's like,
Yeah.
golly.
And I'm sure when we bring you back, there'll be another book out there. We need, but this is the stuff we need to survive. We need to have someone
And we
like
always
you.
love when you come and educate
No,
us.
we appreciate it.
Well, I mean, we all have to do our part to share knowledge, spread truth. If we are living in ignorance, then we're going to be in danger.
That was
We
very
have to know. We have
diplomatically
to know
said.
the risk.
I like that tagline.
I
We
like
all
that.
have to live in truth.
That's right. That's good. Dr. Adili, thank you.
Thank you
You know
so
we
much.
adore you and we need you here. So we'll be having you back very soon.
All right,
So
happy to
tell
be
folks
back.
how to reach you, how they can get
All your contact info.
Yeah.
Yep. So easiest way to reach me is on Instagram, er_doctor_o. I answer all my messages, so if you have health questions, you can definitely reach me there. And as I said, all the books that we'll show them after, but they're all available on Amazon.com. I'll put them up on my IG
I think
feed.
I have all of them. And I know Chelsea got that one yesterday, so that's cool.
Yep.
Really
so we have a
good
new
stuff.
coloring book
That's
that I did with
that's
one of my business
cool.
partners. It's an
Beautiful.
inspirational
That's
book.
nice.
Gorgeous.
Something to pass on the same message from the Seeds of Greatness book about being your own boss, about working hard, not giving up, believing in yourself, making
Start
sure
early.
that you reach your goals. We want our kids to start all those good things early. So we
Yeah.
are working on getting this.
Oh,
This
that's
is on
nice.
Amazon also.
Beautifully done.
Put that in the office.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a great idea in her office. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you again very soon.
All right, I'll be back.
And we want to thank you guys for being with us today. We'll be looking forward to seeing you next Monday. In the meantime, we got to ask, how you living? Bye-bye.